Okay, welcome back to part 2 of Lightwave 11.6 flocking with the Raycast node. Here's an example of a more realistic project using the flocking and the Raycast node. So let's take a look at it. As you can see, I've got a character with a run cycle, and I've got that instance to my flock, and they're travelling across the terrain spot on. Okay, so how do we go about doing this? Well, I've got this scene set up, so I'm not going to set up this scene again. What I'm going to do is break it down and show you how I set it all up. First up, as you can see, I've got a flock set up conforming to my terrain. Check out part 1 to see how that's done. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just turn this stuff off. Okay, and bring up my little character. Getting some OpenGL error. Okay, this is my not so incredible Hulk character, and what I've done is I've created a run cycle, 20 frame run cycle, and just set it up to loop, and there we go. We've got my not so incredible. He's pretty angry, this guy. Gee whiz. And then what I did was basically I created 5 more, not created but copied 5 more characters and offset each one of their MDD files by 3 frames, because I've got 6 characters in there. The run cycle is 20 frames, so divide 20 by 6 and you get roughly 3. So I've got all 6 of my characters offset slightly so they don't look like an army running. Okay, so now that I've got that set up, we can turn our ground back on and our flock. In fact, I'll just turn these off and concentrate on the instancing. Okay, so the next step is to instance those characters to our flock. So if we select the flock, object properties, instance, I've already got it set up. As you can see, I've got all 6 characters in there, and the type is set to particles. So if I turn that on, you can see that I've got a whole crowd of characters. Now it's freaking out a little bit because I've got a whole stack of MDDs going at the same time, but that's pretty much what I did. So if I hit VPR, you'll notice that my characters are no longer all green and purple, but there's a whole stack of variation in the color. So I'll show you how I did that. I basically varied the color of the hair, the skin, the pants and the shoes. So if I shift click onto one of those surfaces, you can see if I click on the nodes, basically as I did in the first video, we've got our instance info, and I just applied a gradient and set that to the color, and I did that for shift click onto the skin. I did that for the skin. As you can see, I've got some variations in skin tones, and that's what I did to get all the different variations. I wanted to show you one other thing. If I select the pants, hit edit nodes, you'll notice I've got a whole stack of nodes set up here, and I'll do my best to try to explain it. As you can see here, this is the node setup that we had in the previous video, the one that's currently driving this. I'll just try to move it over a bit so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so if I disconnect that, our pants go purple again, and what I've got here is I've got a gradient that's set up with different colors, but what I've done is I've select show output on each one of these keys, and by doing that, what I can then do is use an image node and load up a whole stack of images. In this case I've just got a whole bunch of animal skins, and plug each one of those from the color into each key. And what that does is, once I plug that in to the color, you'll notice the pants have now varying textures of animal print on them. So that's just another little thing that you can do to vary some of your characters. And I guess if you want, you can get creative, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here, but you can plug that in and start messing around with a whole bunch of nodes to get different results. So I'll just unplug that, plug that back in there, and there we have our character crowd with varying textures. Now there's one thing I wanted to point out with regards to having the characters running across the terrain and not sliding and slipping all over the place. If we go over to our FX tools and go into flocking, and for our flock, in the agents tab, you can see here that I've got maximum speed meters per second, and I've got it set to 3. And what I did was that I basically just picked one of the characters, let's just say this purpley shoe right there, and followed it. In fact, I'll just drop that back. Looking at this particular shoe right here, and I'll just turn show details off. Now we're looking at this foot right here, and what I did was that I followed it and checked it to see that it wasn't sliding or slipping. If it's slipping, then it's too slow. You need to increase the speed, the agent maximum speed. If it's sliding forward, then it's too fast. So you can just adjust this parameter here until you get the feet sticking to the ground as best as possible. So there we have our crowd set up using the flocking with the Raycast node and some color variations on a more realistic example. An example of how you may use it in the real world with an army of characters or some animals running across the terrain. So I hope that's helped, and I'll see you next time.